Alright, so in November 2025, we are gonna see something pretty historic. The first ever American Pope, Leo XIV, is making his first trip abroad. But his choice of destination, well, it has definitely got people talking. I mean, think about it. Why would the very first American Pope choose a nation that's 99% Muslim for his big debut on the world stage? It's not the obvious choice, right? It's not a Catholic stronghold. So what's really going on here? Well, the answer is actually this incredible mix of ancient history, high-stakes modern diplomacy, and a really bold vision for the future. Well, this trip, which is set for November 27th to 30th, is absolutely not random. You have got to understand, this is a statement piece. It is a very deliberate move, and in a way, he is picking up a mission that his predecessor, Pope Francis, really wanted to see through. It is all about keeping the momentum, going for something truly historic. So, what's the main reason? What is the big hook for this trip? Well, believe it or not, it is primarily concerned with a massive anniversary. And I'm not talking about something from 50 or 100 years ago. We are going way, way back, all the way to the very roots of Christianity. Yep, 1700. Just let that number sink in for a second. 1700 years. So this trip isn't just about modern politics or recent events. Its anchor is planted firmly in an event from the year 325 AD. Pretty wild, right? And here it is, the First Council of Nicaea. This all went down in 325 AD in a place that we now call Iznik, Turkey. I mean, you have to picture this. This was a time when the church was still unified, before all the big splits between East and West. You had bishops from all over the known world coming together to hammer out the core beliefs of Christianity. And the result? The Nicene Creed. You know, that statement of faith that Christians of all stripes, Catholics, Orthodox, Protestants, still say today. So Nicaea, it's this huge, powerful symbol of a time when everyone was on the same page. But look, this is not just some dusty history lesson. Pope Leo himself said it perfectly. He said this anniversary isn't about staring into the past, it's a compass that can guide us today. He's basically using this moment of ancient unity as a launchpad to tackle his biggest goal, trying to heal the deep divisions that exist between Christians right now. And that vision of unity brings us right to the second huge goal of this trip. This is a very personal, very targeted effort to start mending the rift between the Catholic and Orthodox churches. A split that has lasted for almost 1,000 years. You know, the road to getting these two churches back together has been incredibly long and rocky. The whole thing started with the Great Schism back in 1054. That's when the formal split happened. And then, crickets for centuries. It wasn't until 1965, which is pretty recent when you think about it, that they finally took a big step and lifted the mutual excommunications. So now, this 2025 meeting, this joint celebration of Nicaea, everyone is hoping this will be the next big positive chapter in that long, long story. And the absolute centerpiece of this whole effort is going to be the meeting between Pope Leo and Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew I. Bartholomew is the spiritual leader for Orthodox Christians all over the world, so this is a huge deal. They're meeting in Istanbul, and the timing is just perfect. It's on the feast of St. Andrew, who is the patron saint of the Patriarchate. You really can't get more symbolic than that. It's a deeply personal gesture of brotherhood on a really sacred day. Okay, but let's be real for a second. The challenges here are massive. At the very heart of this 1,000-year-old split is a huge disagreement about the Pope's authority. The Catholic Church believes the Pope has jurisdiction over the entire Church, everywhere. The Orthodox Church, on the other hand, sees him as first among equals, so respected but not their boss. This trip isn't going to magically solve that overnight, but what it can do is build the trust and goodwill you need to even have that conversation. But there is more to this trip than just Christian unity. There is a third and equally important piece to this puzzle. Just by choosing a 99% Muslim country for his very first trip, Pope Leo is sending a crystal clear message to the entire world. A message of friendship and a deep commitment to dialogue with Islam. And you know, he's actually following in some pretty big footsteps here. Pope Leo will be the 5th modern pope to visit Turkey. He's building on this incredible legacy of outreach that was started by his predecessors. Each one of those visits was another brick in the wall, another step towards building better understanding and respect. Now, one of the moments everyone is going to be watching for is his visit to the famous Blue Mosque in Istanbul. Just picture it. The Pope, the leader of the Catholic world, standing inside one of the most iconic and beautiful mosques in Islam. I mean, for a global audience, that image is just unbelievably powerful. And there's actually a really powerful precedent for this. Back in 2006, things were kind of tense, and Pope Benedict XVI made this absolutely groundbreaking gesture. He stood inside the Blue Mosque, side by side with a Turkish mufti, in silent prayer. That photo went everywhere. It became one of the defining images of his entire time as Pope. So Leo is quite literally walking in those footsteps, driving home that same message of peace and living together. But you know, a trip like this is never just about religion and history. It is also an incredibly complex and highly sensitive diplomatic balancing game. Every single word he says, every handshake, every gesture, it is all going to be watched and analyzed by everyone. And there's a reason for all that scrutiny. Both sides really have something to gain here. For the Vatican, this is a huge chance to move the ball forward on Christian unity and dialogue with Islam. And for Turkey, it's a fantastic opportunity to show the world it's a modern, tolerant country, maybe get a boost in tourism, and just generally up its diplomatic game. So if they can pull it off, it's a classic win-win scenario. But that phrase, navigating carefully, is everything, because there are some really deep historical sensitivities at play. To get a sense of it, just look at this quote from Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, the guy who founded modern Turkey. He called the Patriarchate a treacherous institution sowing discord. Whoa! Now things have gotten a lot better since 1922, but that kind of history doesn't just disappear, it still echoes today. And those echoes, they show up in some very real present-day issues. For example, the Turkish state still officially sees the Patriarchate as a local Turkish institution, not this ecumenical or worldwide one. There's a really important Orthodox seminary, Halki, that's been shut down by the government since 1971. So when the Pope shows up and treats Patriarch Bartholomew like a global spiritual leader, well, that's a very, very delicate diplomatic dance he has to do. Okay, so when you take a step back and you look at all these different threats, the 1700 years old anniversary, the outreach to the Orthodox Church, the bridge building with Islam, and all the tricky geopolitics, you start to see that it is all part of a one single really powerful mission. At the end of the day, this whole trip really stands on three equal pillars. First, Christian unity. That's the ecumenism part. Second, interfaith harmony. That's the dialogue with the Muslim world. And third, regional peace. And that's the careful diplomacy. You can't separate them. Each one is absolutely crucial to what the Pope is trying to do here. And you know, the hope that a trip like this generates, it goes way beyond Turkey's borders. Listen to what Lebanon's Patriarch Bichara Ray said. He pointed out that this visit isn't just for Catholics or Orthodox. In a part of the world that seems so much tension, it's a symbol of unity for everybody, Christians and Muslims alike. And that leaves us with a much larger question. In a world that feels more than fractured than ever, can a visit that lasts only a few days really make a difference? Is it truly possible for such a moment to ease wounds that have been open for centuries? I don't know the answer, but it is worth reflecting on as we watch Pope Leo take his very first steps onto the global stage.